obviously there's great opportunity for guys that are here. Chauncey Wiggins, I think has a chance to take a major step. I thought he took a good step this year. I thought he had a good year. He had a good sophomore year. He made some big strides as a player, started to get his back to the basket game going, made some big shots in games, started some games. I'm really proud of him. I think he's going to be a great player for us. Obviously, Ian Shefflin's development was unbelievably fun to watch, and I think a lot of our fan base was surprised by some of that. I don't think the coaches were as much, but I think he can take another step as a player, and that's fun for us to try to help those guys do that. Like, you want to get in the gym with them and work and help them take bigger roles. Dylan Hunter's going to have a chance to get better this year. He knows our system and compete and earn more minutes. Jake Heidbritter and Asa Thomas, two guys that Asa's been hurt a little bit, but really pleased with his work in the weight room. His legs have gotten bigger and stronger. I think he's got good swagger. I think he's going to be a good player. He reminds me of Hunter Tyson as a young guy. He's still probably a couple of years away from being a really, really good player, but I just like his demeanor. Jake just is a worker. He's just unbelievably quiet about what he does, but man, he's in there every day lifting and shooting, and he's going to be hungry because he didn't get to be on the court with this team, and so there'll be a hunger there. I think that's something that we're going to have to really work at with the team, is when you've had a big year like this and you have some guys that come back, challenging them to still be as hungry as they need to be to maintain this level of success is not easy.
Brett, I feel like really appreciated your honesty and you taking some of this credit that I think you've earned. I feel like maybe we should be really blunt. When you're talking NIL and you're talking facilities and you're talking expectations, we're essentially saying, fans, if you want this to be the regular occasion, you kind of have to put your money where your mouth is. That NIL, those collectives, those contributions, that sort of stuff is how you make this happen.
Everything's important. I've said, you have to have a complete program. You have to have tremendous support from everybody to be good consistently. You can have a good team, but it's hard to be consistently good unless you have support all the way down. And your university is committed to their product and their players and their staff. And I think it's no surprise that our success has improved tremendously when we got in this facility. I mean, there's 100% change in people's attitudes when they visited campus on the commitment Clemson was making to basketball. And so now you bring kids through this building and they're impressed. I've said this before, that usually when I ask kids who visit, well, what'd you think? The answer is always better than I expected, right? Which is great to hear, but it's also like, well, what was your expectation, right? Why would you not expect it to be good, right? It's that football mentality that everybody has and schools use against us, that unless you come over here and actually see it, you don't know what it is. But it's really good, and we have really good facilities, and we have good support, and we have a good fan base. We have a fan base that cares, and when you do dig into it, and people listen with an open mind and get to see things, then it's changed our recruiting. We've gotten better players, and obviously when you get better players, you have a better chance to win. And so there's no question that that's helped us tremendously, but it's you got to consistently stay with it to try to be good.
Do you think teams that are built around senior leadership or leadership that's built within the program fare better in the tournament than teams that are built on one and dones?
I do think experience can matter. I think player-led teams are better than coach-driven teams, and so if you have strong leadership from your players, I don't know that necessarily matters what age they are. it plays a huge factor. And I think there's probably less kids that are as excited about being a leader now. There probably feels like there are maybe a little bit less natural leaders now than maybe in the past. And sometimes it takes years to develop leaders through your program, both with us and with help from folks across campus and our sports psychologists pouring into kids to make them more comfortable. PJ's a great example of that. It wasn't natural for PJ. As good a player as he was, this was a hard year for him to be the vocal guy. Like Chase it's not natural for Chase Hunter to be a vocal guy. They both would rather lead by example, which is fine to a degree. But I think there are times when your players need to really take steps forward, and that's one of the things that helped us after the ACC tournament. Is I was really, went after my team a little bit and was really disappointed in them, and they responded, and then they responded amongst themselves, and I think that's what helped spur our run. I think I don't know if it always matters what year you are, but I do think being an older player and having more life experiences sometimes can help.
When you think of this team, when you look back on this season specifically, what do you hope you still remember or hold on to in 10, 15 years?
Yeah, just all the feelings you had celebrating with the kids, with your guys, the folks that traveled with us to LA and to Memphis, going into hotel lobbies and just seeing all different kinds of people that traveled to support us. When we beat Arizona and I think it was Chase was running over to the fan base, and you're just kind of like, he's stealing the ball, and kind of it just like, obviously just the hugs and special moments you have with kids, and those are different types of things that you don't experience in anything else really, or rarely do in any other occupation, right? And so your highs are really high as a coach, your lows are really low, and when you get one of those highs, it's unbelievable, and everybody drops their guard a little bit. We become way more human, and and that is a good thing for all of us. Wish we could do that a little more often in other situations.
You look at a guy like Victor Larkin. Seems like he shot more threes last year, but is not exactly proficient at it yet. Is he more of a guy that's going to be very post-centric, or do you feel like he?
No, I think he'll play all over the floor. Yeah. We'll obviously we have to help coach guys get better, but we like Victor's ability to play inside and out. Our offense the last couple of years has been a lot more of the high-low. We kind of made some changes there a couple of years ago to really accentuate our players. We just felt like it fit, Ian and PJ especially, and then RJ was kind of a beneficiary this year, and he'll fit into that. He'll be able to play both spots and do some different things that way. I would expect him to shoot some threes for sure, and make threes, and stretch the defense, which is important. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about what PJ has meant to the program and what it would mean to you and to the program to see him selected in the draft.
PJ's, I've talked about it a million times. He's one of my most special recruits. As much anything because he was a top player in the state that stayed home. And there have been some other times I've tried to recruit those guys and recruited them for 2 and 3 years and gotten turned down at the end. And PJ decided that this is where he wanted to be. And not just that decision, but his decision to stay with us for 4 years. He was a very sought after player, and the transfer window was open and he could have gone again if he wanted to, but I'm extremely thankful for that. I'm thankful for the way he allowed me to coach him. He allowed me to coach him in a way that I thought made him better. And his carefree, caring personality, I mean, I don't know if I've ever had a player as good as he is, who cared so much about the team and other players. Remarkable young man that way. Parents deserve so much credit for the way they've raised him, and you know, for the way that he genuinely cares about other folks and our program and our fan base. And I think he had a hard time at times this year, because I think he was playing under pressure because he wanted to do something special for Clemson during his time here. And what's remarkable is his numbers are remarkable, considering the injuries and the playing hurt, missing some games. I mean, his stats are unbelievable. So, you know, to watch his name get called I'll be so happy for him, because I know how hard he's worked at it, and it's something that he's dreamed of for a long time. But the great thing about PJ is that won't define him. He'll be much more about all the other things, and he'll remain humble either way, and hardworking, and he's going to have a great life. So, you know, he'll continue to pour into our program and our people, and he'll be an unbelievable ambassador for our university. So it's just a blessing to be able to get to coach a guy like that.
You talked about you need a big and maybe one other guy. So what is the thought of that, and how much does that have to do with Chase Hunter?
A little. I mean, I'm optimistic Chase will come back. You know, he worked out for an NBA team this week. Excited for him to get to do some of those things. You know, I was so happy to watch him play at the level that he did in the NCAA tournament. He was tremendous. You know, obviously he was upset after the ACC tournament. We've talked about that, the way he bounced back. Just, you know, super happy for him, and excited to see what his future, you know, has. In terms of what else that means, you know, I don't know. We feel like we have a lot of perimeter players, so we're really looking more for front court help. And you just never know how it's all going to play out, because portal recruiting is not really an exact science. You're just getting involved with a lot of players and doing your homework, and then, you know, sometimes you get further into it with a guy than somebody else, but you're trying to match guys with the guys you have, with who you might get. It looks like we're getting somebody, and then you don't get that guy, and then, I mean, it's just like you're pieces to the puzzle. You're just constantly working it as a coach. And I think when you have more options and versatility in your lineup to play different ways, it makes you a better coach. You know, I can always change how we do some things to fit my personnel. And so we try to be a little different and not quite as cookie cutter in our approach of personnel.
When you look back over the last 2 years, do you kind of feel like the 22-23 team was just as good as this team? It's just that 12 guys in a room in Indianapolis and the 23 team?
Yeah, you know, that's it is a great question. We will never know, because they didn't get the chance.
Right. The 23 team accomplished a lot.
They did. Yeah, it's interesting how that team was good enough, obviously, if they, you know, got into the tournament, especially if they won the first game just like we did,
right,
to keep winning. It would not have surprised me if they won 2 or 3 games and we got in the tournament, but, you know, unfortunately that didn't happen. But I'm proud of that team, and I'm proud of those guys and Hunter Tyson. There's no question that team having that kind of success, Hunter Tyson being the leader that he was, had an unbelievable effect on PJ Hall and Chase Hunter. No question. Like, those guys were both better this year as players and leaders and believers because of having played with that guy and watching what he did his senior year. It had an effect on those guys on our team.
Have you ever had a season personally like this past season, so many highs, it's just so much a roller coaster?
Yeah, I mean, you have that in a lot of seasons. I think the thing that is so hard, and it's hard for some folks to understand, basketball's a different game. I mean, it's just a different game, and it momentum and how guys are playing, and you have a bad week in basketball, you can affect you for 3 games, right? And the games come so quickly that sometimes the emotional drain of a game in one game affects you the next time, and so that's why it's so hard to do what like a team like UConn has done, where you win at that level with just rarely losing. I mean, obviously their talent was, they're crazy talented, but the focus and the drive, it's hard. And so we got off to such a great start. We were riding the wave of emotion and positivity, and then we lost a bunch of games in January. In some games we played poorly, Virginia Tech and Miami, second half, Miami and most of Virginia Tech. In some games we didn't play as bad, but we just didn't win. And so it was hard to see. Like, I knew going into the tournament we weren't playing as poorly as everybody on the outside thought it was. I knew we'd gotten kicked in the mouth by Boston College, and so and that did surprise me. I did not think that was going to happen. I thought we were ready to play, and that shocked me. But once we got back here and we practiced a couple times and got ourselves ready, and then got new life with the energy of the tournament, I knew that we would have another gear, another jolt. It's almost like there was so much pressure to get to the tournament. We got to get to the tournament. We all knew that. So you come out gangbusters, and then you have a lull a little bit, and it's like, we got to get through this to get to the tournament. Once we get to the tournament, what I didn't do a good enough job, and I tried, I thought, but the ACC tournament, how special that is, and for us to not play there really bothered me, and that's why I was so hard on my team afterwards. It's like they treated that like it wasn't a big enough deal, and I don't understand that. So we had a difficult couple of days based on that. But I do feel like there sometimes gets a point, especially when you kind of know, like, okay, we're not going to win the regular season. We're not. But we as long as we don't fall apart, we probably have a chance to make the NCAA tournament. And that's not easy, and it's not. I think that's human nature. You fight. But my point to that was once we got in the tournament, I just think there was it was like new life in our team. It was almost like the beginning of the season again, and it was like guys just wanted to prove everybody wrong. And obviously, when nobody was picking us to win, I think that was a little extra motivation, and we got back and got a little extra bounce in our step. And it's just, you play well and win a game, and it just sends you in a good path.
You mentioned the ACC tournament as special just now. Just what would it mean to you just to win an ACC tournament?
Yeah, I got to get to a finals. We haven't gotten to a finals. I haven't done well in that. It feels like we get to semis a couple times, but haven't been able to get over the hump. Got to do better. Yeah, I mean, obviously it'd be special. We've never won this at Clemson, and I got to get us a chance to try to get us an opportunity to do that.
You talk about Boston College. Jaden Zachary had some good games against you guys.
Yep.
I mean, is that part of it that you remember how he played against you?
Yeah, absolutely. Jaden is a competitive guy, and he's kind of one of those guys that seems to do what his team needs him to do to win. Whether that's defend a really good player, whether that's score a little bit more, whether that's assist a little more, whether it's, take a big shot. He's just one of those competitive guys that gets a lot out of himself and plays with confidence and has a tremendous competitive spirit that I'm hopeful will, continue to have an impact on other guys on our team, especially some of our young guys.
Any more questions for Coach?
Can you talk about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Chauncey Wiggins is a guy who can really improve. What specifically do you want to see him get better at?
Yeah, just continue to get involved even more around the paint. He's got to rebound the ball better, continue to attack the basket, but he made strides. He made strides in that way, and we started to post him more and run some action for him, and it's just sometimes when guys are so big athletically that you want all these things, and he was playing with a lot of other good players, right? I think one of the things that's challenging is when you're a young player on a really good team with older players. Like the older players are going to be the guys that, the Joe Girards, the Chase Hunters, the PJ Halls, they're going to be the primary weapons. What our team needed last year was more rebounding and defense because we had a 1,500 point scorer, 2,000 point scorer, 1,000 point scorer. And so while I think Chauncey probably would have scored more points than Jack if he'd have played the same amount of minutes, Jack was a little better defender and rebounder and older. And so Jack got more of the minutes there for a while. But Chauncey's more than ready to take the next step, and next year we're going to need scoring, and so he needs to be a 12-point, 14-point scorer for us, and he's going to have a ton of opportunities to get shots, and we're going to run a lot of plays for him, and that kind of excitement hopefully will motivate him to have a great off season, and I'm excited for him. I think it's a fun time for a young man like that you've been working with, and he should be the next guy that kind of takes another big step for us.
Is that the similar thought process with Ian as well to go to the next?
Yeah, Ian kind of did it this way this year. A lot of it through his own rebounding, and some of our posting and our offensive style helped Ian this year, which we knew it would as a bigger, stronger, older player. But I do think his game, we need his game to expand. He needs to be making more threes. He needs to be shooting more threes. He needs to be driving the ball. We lose a lot of scoring and shooting with Girard and PJ. And so, somebody's going to get those shots. There's a lot of shots left for other players. And, the guys that have great off seasons and continue to work to improve, it's natural that those older guys would be the guys that would take the next steps, get those opportunities.
I guess just have you had any discussions with administration about an extension, or do you feel like you need that to be able to?
We're in talks. So we're currently in talks and excited about that, and hope to get something done quickly. There's been a lot going on both sides over the course of the last 2 months, maybe last month.